This is Matthew Mercer, and you're listening to Codename Epic.
The voice of Fei Long in Street Fighter 4, Striker in Mortal Kombat. I've done a bunch of bosses in World of Warcraft. Worked on No More Heroes 2 as Skelter Helter. I'm currently working on Guild Wars 2 as one of the playable races, and I have a character in Soul Calibur 5 that I can't confirm yet, and a couple other projects coming up that I'm really excited about. So primarily though, right now the big project I'm working on is the new Thundercats reboot on Cartoon Network as the voice of Tiger, which has been a childhood dream come full circle. I grew up on Thundercats. Like, I still have in storage a bunch of my action figures from back in the day with a little battery you stick in the back and the eyes glow, and my plastic sort of omen, so it makes the cool little shing sounds when you swing it. So that was a large part of my childhood, and so I specifically recall when the audition came in for this project that I geeked out immediately. It was like, I have to book this, I remember it's about a month later. It takes usually anywhere from 2 weeks to a month to hear back if you booked a gig or not. And about 4 weeks went by, and I began to get a little solemn. Oh well, it was worth a shot. Then I got a call from the agency, and the next 10 minutes were a blur, but mostly it was a bunch of cartwheels. And the bruises the next day showed how excited I was. But no, and so far it's been just an absolute blast of a project. And I can go into that a little more later on, but anyway, I want to also include the fact that I began animation and video game, getting into that industry as a fan. A lot of people go into it as a performer, just kind of falling into it. There's a lot of people that I work with that are very much trained in Juilliard and did all they're classic theater trained for 20 years, and they don't really know much about the games they work on. It's a gig. I've myself trained as an actor as well, but I grew up a very hardcore video gamer and a big fan of cartoons. Everything from the original Warner Brothers cartoons with Mel Blanc, who's one of my greatest idols in voiceover, the classic Tex Avery cartoons like the old Droopy, right up to a lot of the Japanese anime that was popular in the early to late 90s and up until now. So it's been something that I've always had a passion for. And I had a passion for performance, and I had a passion for video games and cartoons, and being able to kind of merge the two was a big time goal of mine growing up. And so far so good. We'll see if it sticks. But yes. So this is primarily a Q&A panel. So I believe we'll be opening up the floor to questions in a moment. First off, let's go ahead and get our wonderful moderator up here. I will give a moderator a hand. So, first and foremost, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. And do we have a traveling mic or? Shout it from the back row.
Basically.
Make it audible. Make it noticeable. So, first and foremost, anybody have any questions?
You sir. As a voice artist, what was your most favorite voice that you've played so far?
Tiger's been a lot of fun. He's been a lot of fun. He's a really interesting character. I tend to be more of a character actor, though, so I enjoy the ones that are more off the beaten path, and I get a lot of hero roles. The young warrior that's out there to just save the world. But I like more the awkward. He's a strange shopkeeper that wants to make sure that you're being taken care of, young sir. Stuff like that. I really enjoy. So there was a what was it? It's not out yet. It's a kind of a Fallout-based game. It's wasteland, wandering the desert sands of a ruined city, and I play this mutated shopkeeper character that tells you about each item, and he's kind of like a mixture between the creepy collector lady from Labyrinth, for those of you who are familiar, and Gollum. And so it's just like this, it's like one eye's melted, his face is half off, and he kind of crawls up and is like, "Oh, yes, what you want to buy?" Like a lot of snarls and stuff like that. And that was just so much fun. By the end of the session, your voice is gone, and you're like, "Good job! Hey, that was a lot of fun, it was good." But it's just, I don't know, I really enjoy those really weird, interesting, demented characters. So that's been definitely one of my favorites so far. Thank you, please. Oh, go ahead.
Did you find your work on the reboot of Thundercats really fun, just because you got to play your childhood hero pretty much?
Very much so. And one thing, I like the old Tiger character, but he kind of faded a little bit in the background in comparison to the other personalities of the show. He was a little too demure for me. So like my favorite in the original show was Panthro, personally. And then when I saw how they retooled the character of Tiger and made him a little more abrasive and a little more of this kind of Han Solo-esque character, you know, he's kind of, well, for lack of a better term, he's kind of a dick. And I was really excited to get a chance to play that kind of personality, so that's been a lot of fun. Another reason why that's been a fun project is because unlike a lot of animation, which is done, especially with Japanese animation, is ADR, or with video games, it's all recorded individually. The actors are in the booth by themselves, and you have a pane of glass, and you have the booth director, the producers on the other side of it, and they work you through the session. With Thundercats, it's like a lot of American animation, it's done with what's called prelay, which is all the actors come in together and record it as a group, like a radio play, and then it's animated to the voice. That's how most traditional animation is done, but less and less so in recent years, unfortunately. But for that reason alone, it's getting able to work with everybody in the room. You get to play off of each other's energy, and you get to goof off between takes, and some of the people who had a chance to work on this project are ridiculous. I mean, just the main cast in general, like Kevin Michael Richardson, who, if you don't know his name, look him up and you'll see, oh, he's in everything, and he plays everything. He's incredible. Emmanuel Shriki, who does Chitara, who's Sloan from Entourage, another fantastic talent, and really intimidating when she walks in the room, because it's like that whole Dreamweaver view that, Dreamweaver, all the guys' jaws drop, and we're like, oh, what? Oh, okay. And some of the guest stars we've had in there, we've had, how can I say that we've announced recently? Actually, I can say that last night's episode that aired, got to work with Richard Chamberlain, who is a fantastic actor, known best for like the show, at least for me, Shogun, back in the day, back in the 70s, which is probably before a lot of people. But there's a lot of wonderful guest stars coming up. Stephen Root worked in an episode with us. He's the voice of Milton in Office Space, the guy saying, Steve Root, building there. Got to work with him. So it's just this constant spray of guest star actors that come in and me trying desperately not to nerd out too much in their face. It's nice to meet you. But yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. Next question. Anyone like to do something?
Besides Thundercats, if you had the chance to either go back and do a voice of an anime or video game that was already done, or do a redo of it like Thundercats, what would it be?
Ooh. I've been meditating on that one for a while. No, actually, oh man. I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy VII, and have been since it aired. Like when the game came out, like I must have played the whole thing probably 7 times, ironically. Mainly because there was the rumor at the time that you could resurrect Eris if you did a certain number of things right in the storyline, which was untrue, but you know, I tried. And I always had this daydream of doing the voice of Sephiroth. I just loved him as a villain character, and George Newbern, who does his voice, is fantastic. And I was kind of nervous when Evan Turner was going to be voicing the characters. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But then I heard it, I was like, okay, no, that's good. I can be okay with that. But Sephiroth's definitely a character that if I could go back in time and discreetly make George disappear. That's not true, George, I'm sorry. I would love a chance to portray him. As far as old cartoons go, like from my childhood, oh man, Thundercats is one of the big ones. That's Real Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Real Ghostbusters was a cartoon that consumed a lot of my childhood, and specifically Peter Venkman. Peter Venkman. Oh man. Anyway, yeah, that's my answer. Next question. I saw someone raise their hand over here, perhaps. Someone? Maybe no one? Anyone? Oh, there we go.
Have you ever had a character that you voice acted and you got to, they started molding the character around you because of your personality or something? That's happening a lot with movies these days.
There's been a couple of video game projects that have done that. There's one, they haven't announced it yet, unfortunately. It's so many things I'm like, oh, I want to talk about NDAs. They have implants in my head, they will detonate if I say anything.
Oh,
So, it's a game with big machines that you pilot with a invisible controller, and the first one had a big controller. I can't say anything. But anyway, I had a character in that when they had a hard time casting the character, they couldn't find somebody that worked for it, and the director brought me in because I'd worked with them previously. When I auditioned for the character, I just went off what they had asked for, made him this like really obnoxious, whiny character that you just can't really stand and are looking forward to possibly watching him get killed in the game. And they booked me for it and began rewriting all the dialogue to fit that personality type. So there are some times where you can alter the character based on your audition. I know for those of you who are familiar with the Tick cartoon, which is one of my favorite cartoons of all time. If you have a chance, check it out. It's Spoon, exactly. There's a character in there called Sewer Urchin, who, when they were originally casting for it way back in the day, this is like my childhood, and everyone heard this recently, they were casting him as like some really intense kind of military type, and then one guy auditioned with the voice of Rain Man. It's like, yeah, definitely like that, definitely good time, definitely in the sewer. And it was not at all what they were asking for, but they liked it so much that they cast him and completely changed the character based on that. So sometimes it does help to be a little unique and off the beaten path. Not always. In fact, most times no. But, you know, sometimes it can be interesting, and it's kind of cool to have that work out. I did have one positive thing, well, not quite basing the character off me. This was at Comic-Con. It was at the Warner Brothers roof party at the Hard Rock Cafe, which already was weird. There's like, you know, I'm just sitting here, just like lowly voice actor, and there's like a cast of Lost, you know, the writers of Firefly, which is really kind of like, you know, my geek in me made me get really demure until I started drinking at the open bar, which is what you do these days. And this, the Japanese producer of Thundercats, of the Studio 4C animation studio, was there. Really nice Japanese lady, glasses, red hair, business suit, you know, a glass of wine, very kind of intimidating at first glance, but she was already a little tipsy. And she came up and was like, you look just like Tiger. You should make a costume. Which then my girlfriend was like, well, she told you. You gotta put it together now. And since then, people in the studio have been jokingly starting to say, like, we're gonna start drawing the character to look like you, we're gonna just give him longer hair and make him a little more of a douchebag. Wait, what? So, a little bit in that regard, not really, I can imagine. I hope we're But that was fun. Yes, sir.
So, have you heard anything about them bringing Thundercats over to Japan and dubbing it?
I hope so. I hope so because I want them to go ahead and bring the animation over to Japan, have the Japanese actors dub over the animation, and then have all the Japanese fans go on the forums and complain that they only like watch it in the original English language. That the Japanese dub is terrible. They'll be like, finally! How's it feel?
Thunder!
One day.
Whoa!
Exactly. It's gonna be fantastic. I can only hope so, personally.
What?
Just the hope. Question there, then we'll get to you afterward.
Did you see the mad parody of Thundercats?
I saw that, and sadly, I was supposed to be in that. Because they used the actual voices of the show for that. Like, the actual Lino in that skit is Will Friedle, does the voice Lino in the show. I got a phone call, I was actually leaving for a convention in London in mid-August. And they called and said, can you come in just to read a few lines next Wednesday? And that was when I was supposed to be in London. I'm like, I can't. Maybe the week after, like, I can't do that. They didn't tell me what it was. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I'll do it when I come back. And then I come back and ask about it. They're like, they already recorded it. They had somebody to voice match. And I'm like, wait, what? What was it for? And then when the video came out, I saw it. I was like, no! Or more, no! But the guy did a really good job. So I really appreciated the fact. It's kind of weird to have somebody voice match you. That was a first experience for me. That was the first time I've had somebody else do their impression of me on a project, and I was like, okay, well done. I'm not grossly offended. Good job. I'm sorry. I wish I could have been part of that. I guess it was a lot of fun, but I still enjoyed it. Sir?
How does it feel voicing Thundercats?
Does it feel?
Yes.
Feels good. It's intimidating. I'll put it that way. Like I've worked in a lot of video games and you know, small budget animation. This is the first time I've worked with like major like where we recorded on the Warner Brothers Ranch lot. The voice director is Andrea Romano, who's kind of like the voice director in animation. She's done all the good Warner Brothers cartoons over the past 25 years, like Batman animated series, Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures. I'm into all the Justice League cartoons now. You know, all the. If there's any good cartoon, she did Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is another fantastic cartoon. She directed pretty much every cartoon that I like, American animation-wise, for the past 25 years. And so, having to work with her on a project, walking in there, I was just like, hi. It's a pleasure to. Okay. You know, I was really, really intimidated. And then having all the other actors in there too, Bradley D. Baker, Corey Burton, they're people I've looked up to for so long. And so for the first few sessions, I was very sheepish and very quiet and very much the hand of the wallflower, trying not to stir the waters a little bit. But then after about 3 or 4 episodes of just continuously perverse jokes being thrown about, realizing that there's just really fun people, then we all got relaxed with it, and it's been a blast since then. But originally it was very intimidating. Next question.
Do you enjoy acting more or voice acting?
I enjoy them both equally for different reasons. They're two entirely different skill sets. Like screen acting, a lot of it's internalized and it's physical. And there's something about being in a character's costume or an outfit for a project that it's a transformative experience, and it brings me back to my love of theater. And I love film, but film is much more technical, because you're doing multiple takes, multiple angles, and it's unlike theater where you're playing a full story and a full character's arc straight through. Film is a lot of repetition, it's a lot of waiting, it's a lot of 12-hour days in which you're only filming 4 of them, and the rest of them you're sitting around on call, and it's a different process. But I thoroughly enjoy it, especially when seeing the final project. Voiceover for me is a little more like improvisational play, or it's more fulfilling for me. In the regard of, this is what I did as a kid. I made voices in the car. I talk to myself in the car all the time. It might be the psychosis, I don't know. But I find that fulfilling on a personal level as opposed to like a career level. Plus, it's a lot less of a time constraint, and I get to go and record in my pajamas sometimes. So it has other bonuses as well. Of course, I went and recorded a session in my pajamas a week ago and then walked outside and it was raining. And I left my keys in my car. So I had about an hour waiting for my girlfriend to go pick up my spare key to let me into my car outside my pajamas in the rain, just pouring and just moping. So not so great that day per se, but usually it's alright. Yes, sir.
How did it feel like voicing Fei Long?
Fei Long. I'm gonna start this off by saying I'm a huge Street Fighter fan. I used to be a tournament player back in high school. I used to go to the B3 in San Francisco, Battle by the Bay. I've fought a lot of the Sunnyvale folk, like the classic Super Turbo and Alpha Sunnyvale folk, like Alex Valle and actually Justin Wong. Been able to fight a few times. He worked on a web project together a couple years ago called Street Fighter High the Musical, which was very, very unique and fun web film. I got to play Dan Hibiki, who's one of my favorite Street Fighter characters because he's ridiculous. So I'm already a big time Street Fighter fan. Like my art signature in high school was the Akuma's 10 symbol. It was back. Like that was how I signed my artwork. So when I went in for the audition for Street Fighter, they didn't like a lot of auditions. They don't give you the name of the project. They just like it's fighting game 20. Then you go in and the characters are Warrior number 1, Warrior number 2, Warrior number 3, Fast Warrior number 1. So you don't have an idea. So I was like, all right, I'm going to audition for this project. And I opened the binder, and the director, Taliesin Jaffe, was like, all right, so pick a few characters you think fit your range. And the first lines were, Hadouken, Shoryuken, Azumaki Tsukiyaki. I'm like, I think I know what this is. And so I pulled out a bunch of characters that I wanted to audition for, and Fei Long was one of them, because he was one of my favorite characters in Super Turbo, mainly because his little chicken wing was just the cheapest thing in the game. And I'm just a big Bruce Lee fan, so when I booked it, I was over the moon. Just to even say that I could be a part of the Street Fighter franchise now, for me personally, it was like a childhood goal. So it was a very, very, very cool little personal victory. And then even better, I got to be really good with Fei Long in Street Fighter 4, so I go on Xbox Live and just start owning people with myself, which is a little weird. Or get retroactively owned, but then I can curse them out as Fei Long, which usually freaks them out. So it's been fun.
I've also heard that they're going to do a, I guess, CGI Thundercats movie.
There's been talks of a film. The CGI one, they had it was kind of in a pre-production element a few years ago, but I think that got canned.
It got delayed.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing that anymore. They had the trailer for it, or like the early development piece for it went online about a year ago, I think. It looked really interesting. I don't think that one's going forward. There are talks of a live-action Thundercats movie, possibly. We'll see. My hopes is that instead they just do a whole bunch of animated features, because that would be cool. I would be okay with that. Because more Thundercats is more fun for me. So I don't know about that one in particular, but I know there's whispers and talks in the shadows of a possible feature. We shall see. Other question? Use it.
How long did it take you to figure out what kind of character you best portray?
Best for what?
How long did it take you to figure out what kind of character you best portray?
Best portray. Well, a lot of it's just practice and kind of voice matching existing characters or having ideas for that. And a lot of it's getting second opinions. I mean, you can audition for many things, and it takes a while for a director to tell you, like, this is your range, or you're really good at this. And primarily, you don't really know that until you see what you start booking. You know, once you start booking projects, and like 4 projects in a row, you're the 18 to 20 young hero. You're like, okay, that's probably what I'm good at then. You know, if you end up booking the Stanley Whiplash old British villain 4 times in a row, you're like, I'm probably really good at that. So it's kind of a trial and error thing, and second opinion from directors who have experience, and after hearing you read a few times can be like, okay, I see where your range is, you're good at these archetypes, which is why workshops are really, really good. A lot of experienced casting directors can give really good feedback after you do a few reads on both what you're really good at, what you need to work on, and what your speciality is in voiceover. And a lot of times it's something close to your normal voice. I mean, for the most part, any voiceover, what your normal voice is primarily what you're going to be cast as. And then from there you can build off of it. Unless you're, just really, really good at celebrity voice matches, which is an industry in itself. I've gone in for a couple of voice matches. One's for Brad Pitt, which, for the record, that man mumbles like you wouldn't believe. Like right on screen, if you just listen to the audio sometimes, he's just all over the place. It's the only time I've ever gotten direction from a director. It's like, that was great, make it less good. Make it messier, so that was unique. But just through experience and second opinion is kind of the best thing. I'm trying to branch off a little bit into more character-y stuff as well. I've been practicing my kind of almost Ian McKellen, old British sage voice, which is close to actually Jaga from Thundercats, that, these are days of peace and prosperity on third earth, that kind of a thing. So, which just comes through practice and listening. But yeah, so that's that.
I've been taking voice acting classes from Crispin Freeman.
Oh, cool. Crispin's great.
And the one thing he was always saying was that, the key is to learn how to cast yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting to hear that.
Yeah, it's second opinion is the best bet, because you always know what you want to go for. You're not necessarily the best, the unbiased opinion to tell you what you're good for. There are a lot of characters I would love to do that I could never do, because it's just not in my range. Or there's other people out there that are just better, and they're always going to hire the person who's better for the project. So, if you really, really want something, you just work really, really hard to get that voice. I'm not recommending this. Corey Burton, who does the voice of Jaga in Thundercats, he's been smoking and drinking scotch for 30, 40 years as part of his profession. Not because he likes it, but because he wants to get that texture in those registers. And I'm like, all right, man, power to you. I'm not going to do that, but respect. So, you can find certain ways to practice towards a certain archetype that you want to vie for, but for the most part, you want to really, really fine-tune, hone what you're already good at, and make it that much more competitive. So that's your best bet there. Next question.
Have you ever been approached with a role that you didn't care for or wanted to turn down? And if so, how did it go?
Yes. I've had one project I was approached with and didn't want to do it, but I took it anyway because it was a paycheck. Because, man's got to eat. This was years ago. This is before I was in my agency. And it was for this great PlayStation 2 game called Prism, Chapter 1, The Dark Unicorn, where I played a bunch of elves and gnomes, and it was just ridiculous. And I also played the Dark Unicorn, Zartu. And the cutscenes are on YouTube. They'll find them, and they're They're wonderful. Many blessings upon you, Prism, for the day you have come of age. It's Like, I had good people on it. It was,
Good job.
I know. Kim, my guest, who's the voice of a number of video game characters, let alone, was it Mei Ling in Metal Gear Solid. Doug Stone is the voice of Psycho Mantis in Metal Gear Solid, a bunch of other games he's in. So they're like good people, but just bad. It was one of those things where, like, as you're recording it, you go home and you're just like, well, I'm going to take that off the resume. But IMDb doesn't let you. As far as projects I've turned down a couple of projects because either I didn't agree with the political views they shared, like a lot of commercial copy I'll get sometimes that are like very, very pro a certain political view or a very specific religious view that I don't necessarily agree with. And so I'll turn down the audition or turn down the work. Or there'll be there've been one project that I was called in for an audition for, and half of the audition they told me, by the way, there was a lot of sexual content to this. I was like, oh, well, describe that. And it turned out it was a hentai. Which part of me was like, whoa! But the other part of me was like, nah. I don't know if I could go forward and feeling happy about being some sort of tentacle demon rape monster. And again, I may conquer back. We'll see. No. So that was interesting. Another question. Anyone? You said, oh, actually, I'll get back to you, Jasper. You said.
Yeah. On Thundercats, Tigra, when you were first in the booth there, how much direction did Andrea have to give you to get what she wanted?
To get what I wanted. Andrea's very thorough. She is thorough. She knows exactly what she wants. And she'll, line read you through or primp and tune you to get exactly what she wants to perform. Originally, when we first began recording, we all had to character breakdowns, and we had our auditions to listen for reference. And then before we record an episode, we do a full rehearsal. So we'll just go ahead and, I heard that. No, we run a full rehearsal of the script first. And that's where we get primarily our main character notes. We'll read through in the end, she'll be like, all right, cool, so in that scene, that was good, make it a little more heightened, a little more aggressive, or in this scene, make it a little more introverted and sad. For this one, don't forget this character doesn't like this character, so put a little twinge of frustration in there, She'll give us the notes ahead of time after the rehearsal, and then when we do the actual recording, she'll, we'll primp and change as it goes through. So she's pretty involved. And at the get-go, we had a lot of notes. Just make sure we got it just right. Now it's a little more relaxed, so we all like feel comfortable with the characters. We settled in. We can just take it where we want to go. So it's fun. It's good. It's delicious. Maybe not the last word. No, it can't be. They bring bagels. So, yeah. You next question.
How did you discover your talent?
I grew up with a father that raised me on Monty Python, Warner Brothers, Tex Avery, and we just threw voices and dialects around all the time. And it wasn't something I saw as a talent more than just something that was fun to do with my dad. And as I began to get into video games that actually had voiceover, which began with Resident Evil, you almost became a Jill sandwich. It's, I was like, well, okay, this is happening. I want to get cartoons, and it wasn't something I ever thought was a viable possibility for me. But then I began to get into theater and stage performance, and I thought of it in the back of my head. It's like, this is something that I could be really good into, but I didn't think it'd be a possibility. It's just such a hard industry to break into. All through high school, people at the time were like, "Have you got a voiceover?" I'll consider it. And then I got my first taste of it. My father, once again, who seems to be this pivotal character in my career, was an audio engineer for a post company, and one of their clients was a company called Animes. They did a lot of Japanese animation, like Ninja Scroll, a lot of those classic like the late '90s anime, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, and he became friends with the director. The director started having my dad in to do some walla sessions, background voices, and little one-off, phrases and grunts and groans and things. And I was like, "This is the coolest thing in the world, Dad! You get to be in a cartoon!" He was like, "Yeah, no, it's kind of cool. You should come by and watch me work." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So I go with my dad to one of the sessions. It's all like background work to, I think it's Shugyugi. And the halfway through the director's like, I kind of like the tonality of your voice. You want to come in and just finish out the session with us, make a quick $50? I'm like, would I? Gee golly, sir, one of those scenarios. And then they stopped calling my dad back and started calling me instead. And he said if it was anybody else, he'd be angry. So I got a little bit of taste. And even then, that was like sparse. Once every 6 months, I'd do like one Wallace session, but it was just enough to be like, maybe I should give it a shot. But I still worked a day job for a long time, and it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I decided, before I had the responsibilities of like a family to worry about, or had myself in too much debt, to go ahead and try for a dream. And it's a lot of hard work, a lot of very creative ways to get yourself fed. A lot of how can I flavor this ramen tonight? That kind of a thing. But hitting the pavement, going to workshops, going to classes, and like primarily, first and foremost, for any voice acting, anybody's interested in doing voice acting, being able to do voices is great. First, you need to be an actor. That is the most important thing to it. You need to be able to perform. You need to go to classes to learn how to do, scene study, character study, how to interpret copy. Primarily become comfortable with your ability to perform and to really play a character to its fullest from a performer standpoint. And then from there, the cool voices just kind of overlap that skill set. That's the first thing. So like I went through many years of training in various workshops and various acting classes and scene study classes, and then began building my demo and slowly getting work and building up a resume. And then I got an agent and then worked my ass off some more, and now I have a cool badge that says my stage name. For as long as it lasts. Who knows in this industry? Question?
Out of all like the different genres you did, because I know you've done Call of Duty, like you have that military genre, then you have Prism, which is that weird fantasy genre.
Yeah.
Like, which would be your preferred environment or
My
like
preferred
setting?
environment?
Yeah.
Fantasy RPGs, man. Fantasy RPGs. I'm a huge RPG nut. I grew up playing them like every summer. It was like, get out of school on Friday, go to Blockbuster, rent an RPG for my Super Nintendo, beat it by Sunday, go to school for the next week. That was like my school year, and then summer was just that constantly. So fantasy RPGs are a big thing for me. I just love playing them when I have time nowadays. And plus they have a lot of dialogue, so it pays well, which is the other benefit. But I love that genre. I love the world. Star Ocean was a lot of fun for me to do. I just finished recording on one RPG project that I can't discuss yet, but that was another little childhood dream come true, and it was a really cool kind of fantasy-based RPG. And that's definitely my favorite genre, because it's right up my alley. I grew up reading Piers Anthony and Isaac Asimov and all those like awesome sci-fi fantasy books. So I was like, anything that's in that genre, I'm like, yeah, I'm there with you. You're fighting a giant horn monster. How many horns does it have? 12. I got it. Let's go. You're right there. I understand it. Does it have wings? Yes, metal ones. Awesome. That's definitely my favorite genre. Fighting games close second, but they're quick and mostly just like. So, question over here.
Did you do any World of Warcraft voices?
I've done a few World of Warcraft voices, yeah.
Which ones did you do?
I have a few that haven't released yet, but in the Frozen, not Frozen Throne, that was Warcraft 3. In the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, I was the voice of Overthane Bolligard, who was a boss in, I think it was a Ice Crown questline. Then I was the voices of General Vazax in Ulduar, who's this big tentacle-faced creature you fight before you fight Yogg Saron, who's like the final demon boss at the end of the instance. He's this giant tentacle-faced old one who's like, I will destroy everything. That kind of thing. He was a fun one. And then anybody here go through the Ruby Sanctum instance?
Yeah.
I also am the voice of Hellion, the Twilight Destroyer, who's the main boss of that, the giant multicolored dragon that was he was excited to have color. Apparently, it was just bright pinks and oranges and greens, and it was awesome. But he was that very kind of deep talk, oh, another warrior down. he was a lot of fun. World of Warcraft, which I actually played a lot of World of Warcraft. I have 285s, although I haven't played in like a year because, well, it requires, for me at least, it requires a little too much time. And now that I have, a girlfriend and a career, I I can't do it. I can't. It's killing me. Every time now that I use the new expansion announcements, like the new Pandaren race, I'm like, ooh, no, I can't. Just a month. I'll play a month. Okay. It's bad. The addiction's still there. Every now and then I get the cold sweats in the middle of the night. I'm like, I have to level up. I have to put a talent point somewhere. This has to happen. So it was surreal killing me. I'll put it that way. There's something very weird about going with your guild into an instance and then fighting through and then slaughtering myself. And then I don't drop any loot for me and I'm like, God damn it! I don't have to be like that. Next question.
What was your experience with the first time someone recognized you in public?
That was weird. That was really weird. That was about a year ago. And I was in Little Tokyo. And I was just getting some really, really awesome sushi at this place called Flying Fish. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. It's a revolving sushi place. It's nice, cheap, easy, and it's really good. And I'm sitting there eating, and I'm talking with my friend Kevin, one of my writing partners. And somebody comes over and says, "Excuse me, are you Matthew Mercer?" And of course, I like freeze up. I'm waiting to turn and have like some mafia assassin there with his gun in my chest. I'm like, I am. It's like, I really liked your work in Star Ocean. Thanks. And then he paid his meal and left immediately thereafter. And it warmed my heart. And then a little part of me was worried he would be at my car when I got there. But no, it was really sweet. It was unexpected because in voiceover people don't recognize you. Like you know for your voice, primarily, but that's kind of one of the perks of it too. Is you get a little more privacy than you do in other avenues of entertainment. So that was unique and special. Like it really made me feel good, and it was really cool to know that somebody out there cared enough to bring it up, let alone could recognize that. I like to imagine they were there like listening and going like, that guy sounds his voice is really annoying. It feels like I've heard it for a long time. Oh, Edge Maverick, god damn, is it IMDb? That's him. I should probably say something. That's how I assume it went generally, but no, it was really cool. Next question. Anyone? You, sir.
What games are you playing now, or are you looking forward to play that's going to come out within the next year?
Oh, there are many. Right now, I'm slowly trudging through Dark Souls. Those of you who aren't familiar with Dark Souls or Demon Souls, it's one of the best games ever made. It's also one of the hardest games ever made. It's a series that's meant to punish you. It's one of the first games in a long time where it harkens back to the old NES days of 20 hours of just frustration and anger. And I'm a pretty zen guy when I play video games, but I have friends and my girlfriend can attest to this. I get angry, I get loud, I throw controllers, I punch pillows and stuff. Because it's a game that is just unforgiving. It is unrelenting. But when you beat that boss, you feel like you own the world. And you're just like, yeah! Let's scream it on the heavens, climb to a hilltop somewhere and just shout into the sky, I beat that ogre!
Contra.
It's on par with Contra, but even more dickish. There are things in the game where you'll be running and have little life, alright, I'm doing okay, and then you go ahead and open a chest and there's an item, and you open the next chest and it has teeth and it eats you and you die. And you're like, it didn't even warn me. And it didn't do half my life, it just killed me. Then when you die, you lose everything you've collected since then and start back at your previous save point.
It also make you jump back whoa, I didn't expect that.
Exactly. And then while you're playing the game, if you die once, you go into hollowed form, which means your stats are a little reduced and you're not as effective. Unless you unless you work really hard and beat a boss or use a certain item, it's really rare to regain your humanity back. But when you're human, other players online can jump into your world and hunt you down and kill you. So it's it's already hard, but then you add I can be hunted at any time by other players mode, and it's great. The first game, Demon Souls, I got so angry at that I just got the controller and quit it for a week. But then a week later, like any abusive relationship, all I could think about was all the good times we had together and how much fun it was, and we'll give it another shot. And then I came back and then I understood. It was like Neo in the Matrix also, and I was like, whoa, I can beat this game. It was amazing. So Dark Souls is my main thing, and once that's done and time allows, I'm jumping nose deep into Skyrim. Skyrim. Oh yes, I'm a big Elder Scrolls fan since way back in the day.
So you're excited when the new one comes out?
Oh yeah, we were at the launch party for it a few days ago, which was way too Hollywood. There's a bunch of
out again? I know it's Thanksgiving or something.
It comes out this week. It's this week. It should. I think it came out like 2 days ago. There are people out in line, like waiting out, blocking traffic. So go out and get your copy today. I wasn't in it, but one day, it's a goal of mine. So yeah, Skyrim's the next big thing. Next question. Oh, actually, he has this question. Yeah, good.
What type of voices are toughest for you?
Toughest for me?
Yeah.
Female. To the point where I don't do it. Toughest, let's see. Very, very, very young kids. Like very young kids, like, let's go ahead and give me 12. I'm like, okay, hold on. Adjust yourself.
Maybe around 16,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not 12-year-old.
Certain players, you can do younger, you can do kind of teenagerish, be a little more in their face, but then eventually it just gets kind of ridiculous. And it doesn't sound right.
That's when they hire women to do boy voices, like Tara Strong, who does all of them in every cartoon ever. I really enjoy doing like big guttural, angry demon voices, and it's really fun. But like after an hour, you're done. You know, it's like, yeah, I will destroy you. Coach an hour later, it's like, I'm fun. All right, gotta take a break. And I recently found this really awesome Chinese cough syrup. It's like Nim Palm something. It's a long name. It's like this Larcot syrup stuff that just coats your throat and helps you maintain that type of, you know, really, really abrasive voice for a long time, and it tastes good.
I've noticed after practicing, what's that little thing in the back of your throat that gets inflamed after a while doing rough voices?
The
Probably the uvula.
Uvula.
The uvula, which is a fun word to say.
It literally feels like there's a balloon stuck in your throat, basically.
You should get that checked out. That's not normal. And that could be just like learning to place your voice in a different place too. Like if your voice is starting to constrain up there, maybe just learning how to maybe place it differently in the throat so it doesn't, you know, quite damage that part of your voice as much. You sir.
When you do additional voices, are they like the same, like a Dragon or a Mego? Like, do you do the same voices no matter if you're baller or not?
It depends. I mean, usually you do additional voices, it's like one-off characters, like the one guy that jumps out the street and goes, "Hey, he took my bike," you know? And if the guy looks like he's 25 and has a cell phone, then you'll do the, "Hey, he took my bike." But if the guy runs out and has a giant gray beard, it's the king, you'd be like, "Hey, he took my bike," you know? So you adjust it to whatever the animation is for additional voices and stuff like that. For games like Call of Duty and stuff, the casting director will tell you even for the small parts, they'll tell you what the age range is for the character, what their background is. Are they a gruff Marine type? Are they kind of a new recruit? You know, 18, fresh out of high school, doesn't really know the combat battlefield, in which case he'd be like, "Oh, sir, run!" You know, or is he, you know, been doing this for years and he's like, "Don't worry, we got this, come on, follow me." So, you know, it varies depending on what the direction the director wants, but they usually let you know. Next question. You sir.
Ever prank call someone with your voice?
Yes. It was in high school. We used to happen all the time, where we just like either be friends of ours just to mess with them, or their parents, and you know, come up to them, "Hello, is this Mrs. Christen?" "Yes." I'm sorry. I would wish to speak with you for a moment about your son Jameson." "All right. Is everything okay?" "Oh no, it's fine. He's been acting a bit strange at school as of late. We're a bit worried he might be, how do we put this, dead." I only did that once, I felt really guilty. But the lead up, well, it was more of a lead up, like a joke lead up, so it wasn't too bad. But I do that a lot. Whenever I go to a drive-thru, I go through drive-thrus with a different accent every time, which is always fun. Go up to like, "Hi, welcome to McDonald's, take your order." "Certainly you can. Let's see, I'll have a medium caramel frappe, perhaps some local the 10-piece chicken nugget, and that'll be it." "Alright, sir, come on, pull through." "Thanks!" And you turn on the corner and they just kind of stare at you weird and awkward. And, "Here's your meal, sir." "Great, thank you!" Take off. So it can be a lot of fun too. I haven't done that in a while. Like actually prank called in a while because, well,
Caller ID.
Caller ID. It's a lot less fun now. Technology ruins everything. I just saw a hand go up over there.
Of course, after I take my It's
Either
really
way.
hard. Do you have to go to a new drive-thru every time because you're a Scotch person one day and then a Korean one the next?
No, that's part of the fun. They get really confused over time. Like, wait, wasn't that? Yeah.
Oh no, great, no, thank you so much.
Wait a second. So now you switch it up a little bit, but for the most part, the fun is getting the same person over and over again and watching the gears turn. They start questioning their sanity. It's kind of fun.
I gotta try that.
No, it's good times. Next question. I think you have one earlier. I think you're waiting.
Oh yeah. When you're doing fighting games, I know when I was like looking, there's a lot of tracks for different types of like sounds that you make when you get hit,
Yeah.
or like your death scream or something. Like, did you find that part to be very physical, or did you just just stand right there and?
It depends on the actor, really. Some actors do it perfectly still sitting, which I don't understand. I'm a stander. I gotta be standing at the mic. I have too much energy. And actually, Will Friedle and Thundercats makes fun of me. Not really makes fun of me, because I tend to physically act out the things that Tiger is doing. So like if it was like supposed to like doing an attack sound, I'd be like, "Hah!" Or if he like, and we get ADR back, and he'll like do spin a whip or something, I'd be like, "Whoa!" And then I'll look over and he's just going. So we've now titled it the Matt Mercer School of Voice Acting, which is a physical class. And I'm gonna jokingly I'm thinking of making a short film parody of me doing a voice of a workout routine for him, using my techniques. So for me, it's very physical. And in fighting games, like I usually get like a fighting stance at the microphone for like punches. I'll like do shoulder, charges, or for impacts. I like clutch my stomach. So I get pretty physical. I need my space. I need my personal space. It's important to have. And it's fun too, because fighting games, it's not just like, do 3 hit sounds. You do 3 variations of a light damage, 3 variations of a medium damage, 3 variations of a heavy damage. Then you have 3 variations of, dying with a spear through the head, 3 variations of dying when you're on fire, 3 variations of dying because you're electrocuted, 3 variations of dying because you got run over by a Volkswagen, 3 variations you got run over by a semi-truck, 3 variations you got run over by a Volkswagen that's missing its license plate. It can be pretty extensive in some games. But it's a lot of fun. And there's some unique deaths. I've been shot. I've been crushed. I've been burned. I've been electrocuted. I've drowned. I've been mutated. I've been dropped off a building. I've been hung. There's so many like great variations, like a checklist of all the different ways I've had to verbally sound like I'm dying. And there's a voice director named Chris Zimmerman, who did like all the Metal Gear games. She does a lot of animation stuff. She has the most unique ways of describing your pain. She'd be like, okay, so someone is ramming you in the Achilles tendon with a shopping cart, go. You're like, "Ah!" And she's like, good, all right, now someone is blindsiding you in the back of the head with a toaster, go. Good, all right, now somebody stabs you with a knife and then presses a button and then injects a bunch of air into your chest, go. And so, normally you wouldn't get these sounds because you're not, but she makes it so vivid, and by the end of it, like, you'll do the sound and then you'll step away and be like, you have problems, Chris. She's over there behind the glass going, I know. So that's fun. Next question. You sir.
Do you feel as if when you're listening to yourself talk in a voiceover or a game as you're playing it and you hear yourself, does that kind of boost your self-confidence as an actor, or how do you feel about that when you hear it?
It depends. Whenever I hear myself in a game, I'm always looking at it from a critical standpoint. I'm listening to it thinking like, what could I have done better? Or like, oh, I like that. That was a good choice. Wow, I'll put that on my reel. Or I'll listen to it like, oh, I wish I had more context. That's such a big thing that a lot of us don't get a lot of context. Sometimes you'll hear a voiceover line that you're like, oh, that was bad voice acting. And it could be. Or it could be the fact that the director didn't tell us what was going on in the scene. It's really hard when you're doing an intimate sequence. You're like, look, I'm sorry, but I think we should go our separate ways. Then you watch the game and there's like a demon breathing over your shoulder and you're like fighting off zombies. You're like, if I'd known that, I would have been a little more energetic with the line, So some games you get a lot of context, sometimes you don't. And you'll be listening to that back and be like, I wish I had known that. Or sometimes I'll listen to it and be like, that was just bad. I don't know what I was thinking. I chose poorly on that line. So it boosts my self-esteem to be part of projects. And when I do hear lines that I'm like, I did good. I'm excited about that. And other times I'm like, just listening to things to look out for in the future, things to improve upon, and just continuously make myself a better actor.
It's always room for growth.
Yeah. Next question.
Do you do anything? I know there's some actors and different people that do different things before they do a role. Do you have a list or anything that you have to do before you start doing a role?
As far as doing a role, usually if it's a pre-existing character, I'll research them just to get their idea. And then vocal warm-ups. Vocal warm-ups are important because a lot of times you get sessions at 9 a.m. Like you just out of bed. And if you get there and you haven't warmed up, it's not going to be good at all. I find singing is a really great vocal warm-up. And so I like to pick songs that have a very high range. And my personal preference is a band called Mr. Bungle, which is Mike Patton's one of my favorite musicians of all time, good man. And his voice is like all over the place. It goes from like high to low pitch to like guttural and gravelly, and it's a really great warm-up to get me all over my range in the morning before I go into a session. So the warm-ups are very, very important in particular. If I'm doing a very, very deep character with a gravelly voice, I may do a couple shots the night before. I know it helps. You ever wake up after drinking? For those of you who can't drink, wake up after drinking for a long time the next morning and have like that.
Freaking Wednesday.
2 p.m.
Exactly. Yeah. It's never too early. Then I'll try and harness that. Or I'll scream into a pillow for like 10 minutes because that'll also help get that kind of low bass gravelly bit too. So there are different techniques that I've learned over time that work out well for me. Might not work well for everybody else, but work well for me.
So nothing too weird, like.
Nothing too weird. I don't like do mystic chants and summon the spirits of my ancestors to kind of harness the personality of the character. Although no, thanks. You have a question back there.
Well, kind of. Well, first I was going to add that Mike Patton himself has gotten into the voiceover thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but also, do you on backing up on that topic of guttural voices, do you ever string your vocal cords?
It does happen. On the Mike Patton bit too, it was really exciting knowing his music for so long. I was like, man, this guy's getting into voice acting. He did an entire album called Adult Themes for Voice, which is just his voice. He did like multiple layer tracks of him doing beats and weird sounds and just like animal snarls and then making songs out of it. He's a weird guy. But like for the longest time I was like, why isn't he getting into voiceover? And then he did a voice in Portal, Reverse Portal. He was the anger sphere at the end when you're fighting GLaDOS. The one that's like, and then he did the voice of the actual Darkness in the Darkness games, and then he was in the new Bionic Commando with the hot dog arms that nobody liked. He was the main guy in that. But to answer your question, yes, a lot of military games especially can be very, very straining on the voice because it's 4 hours of yelling over and over again, Bogey, 12 o'clock! Bogey, 2 o'clock! Bogey, 3 o'clock! Cut to 2 hours later, you're like, behind the red van! Behind the blue van! Behind the green van! Behind the taco truck! Behind the taco stand! Behind the taco guy! It's just so much yelling for 4 hours and your voice gets strained. So a lot of times you have to be constantly drinking water, you have to find some way to help keep your throat from receiving too much damage, which is why I use that throat coat stuff. It works really well. Like a lot of singing throat sprays work really well. And a lot of times your agent won't try and book you a session back to back after a military session. Usually that'll be like, you do that and you have a day off to recover. So, but yeah, it does get strained sometimes.
Best piece of advice your client will be?
Best piece of advice that I've been told? Some good advice. If it's truly your passion, be ready to give everything for it. It's the only way you'll succeed. And I mean that for anybody. I don't mean that to ominous or anything, but like anything in the industry is difficult because, especially in this city, everybody wants to be a part of it. Everybody and their mother's like, oh, well, I do a little acting on the side. I want to stay in my career, and that's fantastic. But to actually make a living out of it, you have to be ready to give it your all, and that means putting all of your time and energy and effort and creative thoughts towards pursuing this as a career. Or any performance-based career, entertainment-based career, because for every person that wants to do this, there's hundreds of others that are all vying for the same position, and you have to make sure that you're competitive. You have to make sure that you can offer more than they can, and they're all working that hard. So, if it's something you really, really want to get into, you have to be willing to go through the right channels. You have to be willing to work your ass off. You have to be willing to go ahead and make sure that this is a priority, and it'll pay off. other bit of advice I was given was be humble. There's so many people in this industry that get so caught up with the idea of themselves just as a person, what they've achieved, and no matter what you're doing, that's my alarm telling me that I have a few more minutes of the panel. And no matter what you've achieved, there's gonna be somebody else out there that is better than you. So work that much harder to be better than that. But don't do it at the expense of other people. Do it through hard work, do it through being a good person, and do it by helping other people out, because other people will be more willing to help you as well. And this industry is so much better when everyone's helping each other out than anybody else is trying to tear each other down, which is far too common in the entertainment industry. So be a good person, be humble, work hard. That's all the best advice I've heard in this industry.
Follow your dream, no matter how crazy or against the law it is.
Well, follow your dream, work hard at it. I'm going to have no comment on the law bit. Everyone can do their thing. I was a big fan of Breaking Bad. I love the characters. Still kind of illegal. All right, so we have a few more minutes. Probably do like 2 or 3 more questions. Anybody have anything they want? Any final tidbits of asinine wisdom at which to muster up from the interior? These are.
Where do you draw your inspiration from?
Where do I draw my inspiration from? My friends. My loved ones, and being a 12-year-old at heart. Never really growing up. There's something about the society in general these days, that tries to get people to grow up way too quick and to give up their imagination and to give up their ability to play, to just have fun, to not worry about the social confines of people judging you or people thinking things that about you are weird, and just not caring about that and just doing what makes you fun and enjoy whatever you're in the middle of doing. Being able to play is so important. And I think that's really where I draw a lot of my inspiration. It's just being able to hold on to that inner child and let it go free. That came out a lot more metaphysical than I expected it would, but yeah, nevertheless, it's true. Another question? Yusa, go ahead and up. Then we'll get to you back there.
What's your opinion? Say a character that you actually voice there's a character that you want to voice, but you didn't actually get it.
So your question is of the character that I really wanted but I didn't get, and somebody else got it and I didn't like what they did with it? It's happened a couple times. I'm not going to say names, because sometimes I know these people. They know me. But there have been a few projects where I really, really wanted something and I didn't get it. I was like, ah! And then I see who good I got it, and I'm like, okay. And then I hear it and I'm like, oh, that's not what I would have done. Then there are some people that I really want a project and I don't book it. They're like, oh, I didn't get it. And then they get it and I'm like, no, you're good. I understand why. Like, for instance, I was in the final stage of callbacks for Young Justice, for both Superman and Superboy. And it was against me and one other actor. And I went in for the final, third callback, and I did a really good job. I was really happy with it. The director was really happy with it, and I didn't get it. And I was like, oh man, I was so sure of it. And then I find out that Nolan North did it. And I'm like, no, okay, I don't feel bad now. Nolan's good. Nolan's got this. And he does a great job. Those who are not familiar with Nolan North, he does the voice of Nathan Drake from Drake's, the Uncharted series. And
Nathan Drake.
Nathan Drake, sorry. He's in every game.
Uncharted.
He's in every game. He's everywhere, because he's amazing, and he's really good. He's also the adventure sphere in Portal 2, which is one of my favorite things he's ever done. Happy explosion day, gorgeous. But yeah, so it can go both ways. Whether you're like, or you're like, all right, cool, yeah, you're good, you got this. I have time for one more question. You, sir. It's hard to choose your agent. Most of the good agencies take maybe 8 clients a year out of all of Los Angeles. I was lucky enough to where I went into an audition without an agent. Actually, it was for Chris Zimmerman, the Metal Gear director. It was for a game called Rise of the Argonauts that came out for consoles a couple years back. And on a little sheet where you fill out where your agent is, I left it blank because I didn't have one. So I read for the character, and she's like, that was really good. Yeah, we'll have you back in for a callback. Who's your agent? You didn't write it down. I'm like, I don't currently have an agent. She goes, really? Well, we're going to change that. And so she referred me to my current agent, Sandy Schnarr at ABO Talent. And so I went in and met with her, and she signed me, and it was kind of serendipitous, because I'd gone like 2.5 years without an agent, just hitting the pavement myself. And I was also purely non-union, which was, difficult at the time to get an agent if you don't have at least some SAG or after eligibility or membership. So it was a lot of hard work finally paying off in a little bit of serendipity. But for the most part, the way you want to find an agent if you're looking is to just put your information out to all of them, and then try and find directors who you've worked with to refer you. Referrals are the easy way to get any agent, whether that's on-screen, voiceover, regardless. Referrals is the best way to get an actual bit of face time with an agent to get something done. Otherwise, it's a little bit of a shot in the dark, but just putting your information, your demos, your reel out to as many good agencies as possible. So, let's see what time it is. It is 1:02. I've gone over. All right, well, thank you all very much for coming to the panel. I hope you enjoyed yourself.